In the quiet echoes of history, Wounded Knee is a somber testament to both the depths of human cruelty and the indomitable spirit of the Lakota people. It was a bitter December day in 1890 when the snows of South Dakota bore witness to a tragedy that would forever scar the American consciousness. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of foreboding, as soldiers and Lakota families faced each other under a cold, relentless sky. The massacre that unfolded was an unthinkable horror. The blood of innocents stained the white snow, their cries mingling with the harsh wind, silencing dreams and futures in an instant. The gunfire that erupted was not just a cacophony of violence, it was the sound of a nation's soul tearing apart. Men, women, and children fell in heaps, victims of a merciless onslaught that knew no bounds of age or innocence. Wounded Knee was more than a battle. It was a merciless erasure of humanity, a scene of despair so profound that its memory continues to haunt the very land where it occurred. But from this bleak tableau of sorrow there arose a resilient spirit, a defiance that refused to be extinguished. From the blood-soaked earth, the Lakota people emerged with a strength that defied their tormentors. They carried their culture, their stories, and their unyielding will to survive like a sacred fire, passing it on from one generation to the next. The massacre at Wounded Knee was meant to crush the spirit of a people, but it only served to fortify their resolve. In the face of annihilation, they stood unwavering, their resilience displaying the enduring power of the human spirit. The stories of their survival, of their steadfast dedication to their identity and traditions, are woven into the very fabric of their existence, a beacon of hope against the tides of history. In remembering Wounded Knee, we honor not just the pain and loss, but the incredible resilience of a people who faced unimaginable horror and emerged with their spirits unbroken. It is a story of tragedy, yes, but also of an enduring hope that continues to inspire and uplift, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit can endure and prevail. In the latter part of the 19th century, the Plains tribes found themselves under relentless pressure from the expanding American frontier. As their lands were seized, their buffalo herds decimated, and their way of life threatened, desperation spread across the reservations. In this time of turmoil, a new spiritual movement began to take hold among the Lakota and other tribes, the Ghost Dance. The Ghost Dance, envisioned by the Paiute prophet Wovoka in 1889, was a response to the dire conditions faced by native communities. Wovoka, who claimed to have received a vision during a solar eclipse, preached a message of hope and renewal. He spoke of a future where the earth would be cleansed, the dead would return, and the Native American way of life would be restored to its former glory. This vision promised a world where the oppressive forces of white colonization would be swept away, and the native peoples would live in harmony once more. Central to this prophecy was the Ghost Dance itself, a fervent rhythmic circle dance performed by participants wearing special garments called ghost shirts, which were believed to be imbued with spiritual power and could protect against bullets. As the movement spread, it gained particular traction among the Lakota Sioux, who were suffering profoundly under the harsh conditions imposed by the U.S. government. The Ghost Dance was not merely a spiritual awakening, but a profound cultural resurgence. It represented a collective yearning for a return to autonomy and dignity, a desperate plea for deliverance from the relentless encroachment of settlers and soldiers. The dance was both a physical and a spiritual act, uniting communities in their shared hope for a miraculous intervention. But the fervor and unity inspired by the Ghost Dance also sparked fear among U.S. authorities. To them, the movement seemed a potential threat to their control, a spark that could ignite widespread resistance. This fear led to increased military presence on the reservations, heightening tensions and setting the stage for tragic confrontations. As the Ghost Dance movement reached its zenith, the stage was set for a devastating collision between two worlds. The Lakota's desperate hope for salvation through the Ghost Dance clashed with the U.S. government's determination to quell any form of resistance, leading to that fateful day at Wounded Knee. Alarmed by the growing fervor, U.S. Indian agents and military officials perceived the Ghost Dance as a militant uprising in the making. Reports of large gatherings and the ecstatic nature of the dances fueled their paranoia. To them, the movement was not just a religious ceremony, but a direct challenge to their authority. The government's response was swift and severe, aiming to suppress the movement and prevent any potential rebellion. In late 1890, the tension reached a boiling point. The U.S. government ordered the arrest of several Lakota leaders, including the respected Chief Sitting Bull, fearing that they were inciting rebellion through the Ghost Dance. On December 15th, 1890, during an attempt to arrest Sitting Bull, a skirmish broke out, resulting in his death. The incident further inflamed the already tense situation. In the wake of Sitting Bull's death, many Lakota, fearing for their lives, fled to join Chief Bigfoot's band, which was making its way to the Pine Ridge Reservation for sanctuary. The U.S. Army, determined to disarm and control the Lakota, intercepted Bigfoot's band near Wounded Knee Creek on December 28th, 1890. The following day, December 29th, the scene at Wounded Knee was one of tragic inevitability. As the soldiers attempted to disarm the Lakota, a shot was fired. Its origin remains unclear. The shot triggered chaos, and the U.S. troops opened fire with rifles and Hotchkiss guns, indiscriminately mowing down men, women, and children. The snow-covered plains of Wounded Knee were soon stained with the blood of the innocent, the echoes of gunfire mingling with the cries of the dying. By the time the shooting ceased, over 250 Lakota lay dead, their hopes and dreams buried under the snow. The massacre at Wounded Knee was a brutal reminder of the lengths to which the U.S. government would go to suppress Native American resistance. It marked the end of the Ghost Dance movement and symbolized the crushing of the Native American spirit, even as it highlighted their resilience. The tragedy at Wounded Knee stands as a stark testament to the devastating consequences of fear and misunderstanding. The Ghost Dance, a movement rooted in hope and renewal, led to one of the darkest chapters in American history. Yet the spirit of the Lakota, their enduring resilience, and their unwavering will to survive continue to inspire and remind us of the strength and perseverance of Native peoples in the face of unimaginable adversity. In the aftermath of Wounded Knee, the Lakota and other Plains tribes faced a period of profound grief and reflection. The Ghost Dance, which had once symbolized a beacon of hope and spiritual revival, was effectively crushed by the brutal violence of December 29, 1890. The massacre marked the end of the Ghost Dance as a widespread movement, but its underlying spirit of resilience and hope persisted among Native communities. In the wake of this tragedy, the Lakota faced a daunting task of rebuilding their lives and preserving their cultural identity. The massacre left deep scars, both physical and emotional, but it also galvanized a sense of unity and determination among the survivors. Efforts to maintain traditional practices, languages, and cultural ceremonies became acts of defiance and resilience. The Lakota people continued to honor their heritage and pass down their stories, ensuring that the memory of Wounded Knee and the lessons learned from it would not be forgotten. Decades later, Wounded Knee would once again become a focal point for Native American resistance, this time during the turbulent 1970s. The 1970s were a period of heightened activism for Native American rights, driven by a new generation determined to address historical injustices and reclaim their sovereignty. The American Indian movement, founded in 1968, emerged as a powerful force advocating for Native American rights, economic independence, and cultural revitalization. In February 1973, AIM leaders, along with approximately 200 Oglala Lakota and supporters, occupied the site of the Wounded Knee Massacre. The occupation was intended to draw attention to the ongoing struggles faced by Native Americans, including issues of poverty, corruption within the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the failure of the U.S. government to honor treaties. The protest also sought to address grievances against tribal president Richard Wilson, whom many accused of corruption and authoritarian rule. The Wounded Knee occupation lasted for 71 days, during which the activists faced off against federal marshals and the National Guard. The standoff was marked by exchanges of gunfire, the blockade of essential supplies, and intense negotiations. The occupiers demanded the reopening of treaty negotiations and the recognition of Native American sovereignty. The occupation of Wounded Knee in 1973 brought significant media attention to the plight of Native Americans and highlighted the unresolved issues of land rights, treaty violations, and systemic inequality. Although the standoff ended with a negotiated settlement, many of the demands of the protesters remained unmet. However, the occupation succeeded in revitalizing the Native American rights movement and inspired subsequent generations to continue the fight for justice and equality. Thus, the spirit of the Ghost Dance, with its emphasis on hope and renewal, continued to resonate through these acts of resistance. The legacy of Wounded Knee, both the massacre and the 1973 occupation, serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring struggle for Native American rights and the resilience of a people determined to reclaim their history and their future. Thank you for joining us today.